Neuroscience in the last 2 decades has phenomenally changed the way we think about addiction and how drugs affect the brain and all kinds of areas of science. But boy, neuroscience is an incredible frontier. And I've been privileged to be part of the funding of those neuroscience research projects and the translating of that information into new treatments, prevention strategies, and to some extent to new policies. The 1990s were the decade of the brain. Many of you probably didn't know that. But it really was a phenomenal time. And it happened that we had so many advances. I recently had an experience where I was talking to an audience of high school journalists. And I usually show in my slide presentation, I show the egg in the frying pan. And I say, well, when was that popular? And it was actually popular in 1987, the Partnership for Drug-Free America. And then I show them a PET scan or a functional MRI of your brain on drugs, which we have tons of now. And that kind of technological leap happened in the early 90s. And this is the first time it ever happened. Boy, did it make me feel old. I asked these high school students, do you remember this? The teachers are going, oh, yeah, I remember that. Not a single one knew, and I was like, I got to change that for those audiences. But the point there is that we had dramatic changes in the technology, which really catapulted the science. So we started to understand about the circuitry in the brain, about the neurotransmitters that are involved in addiction. For a while, it was dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Still is, because dopamine is one of the major neurotransmitters involved in reward or reinforcement in the brain. There are many other neurotransmitter systems involved as well. Of course, as you would imagine, it's a very complex system. But one of the things that was very much we were able to see was that the circuitry involved in natural rewards, natural pleasures, reinforcing behaviors are very much the same circuitries involved in drug abuse. So that the same kinds of reactions, and that's not a surprise. I mean, food and sex, pleasurable experiences. We wouldn't be here unless they were reinforcing experiences. And those same circuits are the ones, in fact, that drugs of abuse work on, both in the nucleus accumbens, in the limbic system of the brain, the kind of older areas of the brain, the emotional centers. These reward centers are the same areas. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why people take drugs. You like to stimulate that area. So it brings us to another point then. Why do people take drugs? And I break it down into really 2 distinct categories. People take drugs to feel good, or people take drugs to feel better. And I think these are 2 very different groups of individuals.